Welcome to the Millennial Diner podcast. Welcome to a very special episode of the Millennial Diner podcast. I am here at the diner. This is Jeff. I'm here with Phil as usual. And get ready, we have a bigger table than usual today. We didn't get the usual small table. We got a big round one in the corner. This is very exciting because we have two returning guests today. Asha's here. Say hi, Asha.
Hello.
And we have Joe here. Say hi, Joe.
Hello.
Now, Asha was our first guest ever on the podcast, so we definitely wanted to make sure she came back for this.
I'm special.
The special. Yes, you're very special. You started it all off.
Yeah.
Set the standard for everybody.
It was a high standard, I hear.
It actually really was, because you came in here, you started with a musician who came in here and actually could explain to us what's actually going on in the songs we're talking about, which is very exciting. But later down the line, we had another guitar aficionado musician fella named Joe. And Joe showed up, and when I said to Joe, we're doing a punk and emo podcast, he said, let me do Smashing Pumpkins, Melancholy Infinite Sadness. I said, that's not punk or emo, but here we are, we did a double episode. So, thank you, Joe.
I could still keep talking about it. You know, if you want to revisit any, correct any anachronisms from the original, you know, happy to do that.
We are going to do a correction segment, actually, to kick us off, because I also made a horrible mistake on one of the episodes that I haven't been able to sleep since.
What horrible thing did you do?
Do you want to we have to do our orders first, Phil. Let's get the orders in.
Okay.
Flo is here. She is got a lot of energy today.
She's working for her tips.
That's for sure. She keeps going to the bathroom, coming back out. I don't know what's going on. But she's got pep in her step. I'll say that. So I'm gonna give my order. I mean, you know what? Gotta go traditional today. I think to celebrate the first season of hanging out in this diner. I'm just gonna get a tofu scramble. I'm gonna get a side of rye toast, a little bit of vegan butter, and I'm gonna throw some strawberry preserves on that as well. I'm also gonna get a side of fruit. I'm also gonna get a side of hash browns. I'm also gonna get a couple of vegan sausages. What?
You guys eating today?
Yeah. And a coffee, nice hot coffee with oat milk. Sounds good. Asha, what are you gonna have today?
Hello, Flo. I'm gonna do the BLT with some avocado on rye and a cold brew with oat milk. That is all. Thank you.
Love it.
Oat milk again. It's just like the thing out there. All right, Joe, what are you gonna have today?
All right. So last time I was here, it was my first time. I feel like now it's trusted. I can do an omelet. So I'm gonna do a veggie omelet with a side of whole wheat toast, butter, a coffee, and then to go, I gotta go my standard black and white cookie.
I love it.
How could I not? You know.
Can't go wrong with classic things. No, it's a good thing Maurice called in more people to be back in the kitchen. There's a lot of food that has to get sent out. I'm gonna add to that by rye toast with some butter and a black coffee. That sounds good.
Do you ever not order toast?
No, it's always what I get.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Gotcha.
We all make mistakes. Maybe ordering the same thing every time is a mistake, but that's to be decided in season 2. But for season 1, I'd like to take this opportunity if anybody wants to correct a mistake they did early on. Like, granted, I know that we can always go back and edit out if we make a mistake and re-record if we really wanted to, but who's got the time for that? So that's why we have this part right here. We talked about on an episode the Cure's Disintegration that came out in 1989, which is important because we're going to talk about a song today that came out in 1989. But I had this whole thing where I was talking about all the historical events that happened in 1989, and I said, I finished it off by saying, and in November 1989, Taylor Swift was born, which I did not mean to say November. I meant to say December. But I said November. I felt shame. I didn't know what to do with myself for months. So here it is. We all know Taylor Swift was born in December 1989. I don't know why I said November, but I apologize to the Swifties and Taylor Swift herself.
Did they come looking for like the Swifty card to come back? Like, nope, you can't have this anymore.
I don't really want to get into it because it's a lot of bureaucratic stuff, but like it's been a tough time.
Tough time, yeah. Well, at the very least, I want to say thank you for really being vulnerable there and admitting to a mistake.
Yeah, I mean, I misspoke. It's not like I didn't know it.
Oh no, of course
She's a
not. No.
Sagittarius. She's a
Right, no.
Sagittarius.
Yeah, of course not. No, we all knew you knew. No, we all knew.
Anybody else have anything they want to correct from their time on this pod? Anyone at all?
Yeah, I made a big faux pas on my Smashing Pumpkins episode. I was convinced that there was a lyric where Billy says Jaguar, but it's jangly walk. And I called him out for being extra pretentious in that one. And you know what? I think jangly walk is even worse than Jaguar. I think
You are 100% correct. That is a lot worse.
yeah, my old jangly walk. So
Like
that's
jangle, like a creepy kind of walk. I guess that's how you would visually
I just
imagine
picture
that.
like a daddy long legs, but Billy Corgan's Charlie Brown head.
Oh, I pictured Jack Skellington walking.
Similar. Yeah. I get that.
Okay, I'm glad we covered that because I mean Jack Skellington and Billy similar heads.
I
Very
just
similar.
bought my daughter her first record, and it is the Nightmare Before Christmas soundtrack.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent choice.
Is that the new one where like when it spins, there's like a scene that plays?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
That's
I don't even.
Yes.
I don't own this on vinyl at all, and it's like one of my favorite movies.
It just came out.
Is
It's pretty.
Is
It's
it
cool.
the actual film soundtrack or is it the soundtrack with all the covers that all the bands did?
Oh, it's the film.
Okay. Because both of those albums are great.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the one with all the bands, like I know, like there's a Panic at the Disco on there.
Yeah, there's Fall Out Boy,
Fall Out
Fiona
Boy's
Apple.
on there. Yeah,
That's great.
I don't. Is it streaming? I don't think it's all streaming. I have.
That's
been
unfortunate. Because
struggling
it
to find
is
that.
Awesome.
Is there a Korn song on there too? I think there is.
not
No.
Korn.
Oh, it's. Oh, I remember who it is. It's Marilyn Manson.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which who should not be named.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
So,
something that always gets to me is just like, fuck, man. Our parents were right about Marilyn Manson. You know?
It's
Yeah.
kind of annoying.
Right.
Yeah.
They
yeah.
were right.
Yeah. It's a bummer. It's a bummer that our parents were right
Yeah.
about something. Talk about parents, because that's a nice segue. When I think about my parents, I think about where they raised me on an island that's long, called Long Island. And we have 3 people here from Long Island, and we have 1 person here from Boston, but that's pretty close to Long Island. So you must have heard of Long Island at some point in your travels.
I mean, I've lived in New York, so yes.
Yeah. And you lived in Brooklyn, right?
Yes. And I've been to Long Island.
Right. Well, Brooklyn is on the body of Long Island, lest we forget. So
That's very true.
Yeah, that's something no one ever wants to talk about. Like Brooklyn and Queens, they actually are on the island. They it's composite of all of those things. But yeah, I don't live in Long Island. I live in Brooklyn. It's funny how that always is.
Well, it's when the New York Islanders made a poor choice to move to the Barclays Center in Brooklyn from Long Island proper. A lot of people were upset. Then a lot of these, there's a lot of people on Long Island, if you've never been, who don't like to leave Long Island. That's kind of like I don't know. It's like they take pride in that. They don't want to go to the city. They want to stay on Long Island. That's like
also, like, to your point, they don't want to leave Long Island, and they wouldn't be leaving Long Island, but because it's called something different.
That's what I was getting to. Like I would talk to Islander fans who were pissed off they were moving to Brooklyn. They're like, they're still to Long Island. I'm like, well, if you take a look at the map of Long Island, they're still on the island, but fell on deaf ears. But it's fine. They have a brand new arena in Long Island, and it's lovely. They used to play at a place called the Nassau Coliseum, which is important. Again, going back to the parents' Long Island and the old arena on Long Island, because this is all coming back to a cultural touchstone on Long Island is a man named Billy Joel. We are all forced to listen to Billy Joel. probably from the moment we're born. I'm pretty sure that's what they're playing in delivery rooms. I assume. Can anybody remember being born on Long Island? If that's true.
No,
Yeah.
but I'm pretty sure. I mean, no, I don't remember being that, but I'm pretty sure when they fill out your birth certificate, you get a copy of a Billy Joel record while you're there.
Which album? Just a random one?
I think it's just a random one. Yeah.
Oh no, it's absolutely The Stranger.
Oh.
I think The Stranger. I think it could also be the greatest hits. There's like a double disc greatest hits. I feel like every household I visit,
like black and white, his face.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, you bring up The Stranger, former Billy, an episode with Saves the Day. The Stranger, I think it's his favorite Billy Joel song. If I remember right. I think I'm right.
Joe, have you ever met Billy?
I have met Billy. He's a dear, dear friend of mine. Yeah. And I can't recall how we met, but he married my wife and I.
It's true. I can attest to that. So, known Stranger fan married you and your wife. That's a huge thing. So, Billy Joel, for those at home who didn't read the description of the episode, we are not doing a Billy Joel album. No, that's ridiculous.
No, it's ridiculous.
We are just going to do one Billy Joel song because
feels like an album.
It does.
Sure does.
Sure does.
It encompasses most of history. Well, not most of history. Some recent history, somewhat recent history. It doesn't matter. The point is, we are covering this song, We Didn't Start the Fire, today because earlier this year, I had my brain exploded when Fall Out Boy made an announcement on Instagram that tomorrow this was a few months ago, tomorrow they were releasing a cover of We Didn't Start the Fire, except it was starting in 1989 and going to 2023. And it blew up my brain because I feel like We Didn't Start the Fire is just this song that's like an anthem of Long Island, because I dare ask anybody in the millennial, the Gen X era who went to elementary school or middle school on Long Island probably at some point had to do a history assignment where they had to look up an event that is mentioned in We Didn't Start the Fire. So I feel like it's I don't know, it's like a call, a passage of growing up. I don't know, what's the word for it, Phil?
I don't know. I was gonna say nostalgic, but that's me looking back at it, so that's not the right way.
A rite of passage.
Rite of passage.
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Yes.
Well, Billy Joel played. He loomed very large in the public school curricula on Long Island. You know, they really indoctrinate you early, and you know, it's worked for him. I don't know if you've seen his house, but
or many houses.
Well, he's selling one of his houses currently in like Oyster Bay for like $50 million or something.
What does a $50 million house in Oyster Bay look like?
That's a palatial estate at that point.
Yeah.
Is there enough? I just feel like, is there enough room or property on Long Island to have a $50 million estate?
You're
spending $50 million to live on Long Island.
I mean, the Hamptons itself, it's like, I've been to the Hamptons, and it was the one part I was like, I will never go back to. But yeah, like everyone there has a palatial estate.
Well,
I almost made the joke that a $50 million house on Long Island is just a 3-bedroom ranch, but because I feel like it's so expensive down there that's really all it would be. But no, that probably is a gigantic house.
That's a gigantic house.
That's a good joke, but that's pretty much what it is like in Los Angeles. So.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
That's cool. Cool. Well, maybe after this podcast, Billy Joel will buy us all
palatial estates. Yeah,
palatial estates.
Only if it's palatial. I will not take anything less.
No, I need at least a tennis court, basketball court, and a pool. Maybe 2 pools.
Two pools.
Indoor, outdoor.
Well, do you want like a saltwater pool and a regular pool, or like?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Infinity.
If you're gonna dream it, dream. You know, dream away.
Big.
What about an infinity pool?
Yeah.
I take an infinity pool.
If you're gonna have a view and like you're kind of on a hill, then yeah, you definitely need an infinity pool. It goes without saying.
That's fair.
So I don't want to jump the gun here, but I feel like what we're talking about, this $50 million house and all these amenities and luxury, I feel like are at the core of this song, not just because it was a #1 for him and very lucrative, but like thematically with this song, because it is just nonstop. It is the Cold War, and you know, Billy Joel came up on top. So
Yes,
He sure did. He sure did. I mean, there's a lot of things we can get into because one of the things is, okay, so if you don't know this song, it is basically a song where Billy Joel is recounting. This is 1989. He wrote this. Came out. It came out actually. The single came out September 18th, 1989, and then was part of the album Stormfront, which came out on October 17th, 1989. So at this point,
this came out literally 2 weeks after I was born.
This was the gift bestowed upon the world, was Asha and this song.
You almost made it in. You could have
almost made it.
Could have been.
Well,
almost.
It's very important because I think that now, so when Fall Out Boy announces that they're doing one, my reaction is there isn't a more perfect group to do an updated version. For whatever reason, I'm trying to figure it out. For whatever reason, it's just like, yes, Fall Out Boy would be the millennial Billy Joel to do this, where Billy Joel is the boomer and is covering the boomer fall. Yeah, Billy Joel is the boomer Fall Out Boy. Yeah, I'm glad someone said it. So the song, both songs, and we'll get into the Fall Out Boy later. What they do is Billy Joel picked the year he was born, and then just the verses are just him naming significant cultural events, scientific events, sporting events, all that stuff, starting in 1948 when he was born through 1989.
Do you know the backstory of this?
No. Is there a backstory?
There is. So the impetus for this song was that Billy Joel was recording, or he was at like a recording studio or something, and he runs into Sean Lennon, who had just turned 21. And Sean Lennon and his friend were complaining about how hard it was to be 21 in 1989. And I guess the friend was like, well, you grew up in and Billy Joel was like, oh, it's hard anytime. And the kid was like, oh, well, you grew up in the 50s. Nothing happened in the 50s. And then he just started recounting different things. And that was how he got the idea for the song, allegedly.
That's what I also read. I also read this song was critically panned. And they didn't really know, like all the critics were like, this song is actually terrible musically, because it's so repetitious. And I just listened to it again because I was like, I want to refresh my mind. And like the chorus is so good. I will say the melodic nature of the chorus, the lyrics are very uplifting, but it is extremely repetitive until the very end when he kind of changes it to the on and on and on. But like this song is like, as I think one of the critics said, it's like a jackhammer just like firing away. It's like, because he's such a good songwriter and good at melodies, but this song was not that. It was just him like basically just doing the news.
I don't know. I don't do karaoke, but I always thought it'd be really funny to karaoke either We Didn't Start the Fire or End of the World by REM and just do opposite lyrics, because I feel like they fit either song.
So you would go up and sing We Didn't Start the Fire lyrics to the tune of REM's song?
End of the World as We Know it.
Yeah,
similar songs for sure.
When did that song come out? Was it around the same time?
Like early 90s. Yeah.
It was around the same time, right? So maybe it was just really hit on that people really like lists, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sing a list.
87. Yeah.
87.
Oh, so
actually REM did it first.
Yeah. Did Billy Joel steal this from REM? Is that what we're saying?
Maybe he was like, well, they did it and it was kind of maybe successful, so let me just like. There's so many lyrics in that one too. Jesus.
Oh,
that's a complicated song. So complicated. I actually had heard stories that sororities would, as part of being indoctrinated into sorority, you'd have to memorize that entire song. And if one of the older sorority sisters walked up to you and told you to do the song, you had to do the whole song right then and there.
The REM song?
Yeah, do the whole song. You had to say the whole song right there if you ever got asked.
That's incredible. Also,
Mhm.
sororities and fraternities are insane. Just to walk up to another human being and be like, sing every word to "It's the End of the World as We Know It." Right now.
I do pretty good singing along to it, but no, I can never just like verbatim just do it right then and there. No.
Do you want to try it right now, Phil?
No,
Are
I
we
don't.
hazing?
Okay.
This is hazing hour?
This is like hazing hour.
Yeah.
Yes, this is hazing hour. This would be equally as difficult to
Yeah.
get into. Jeff, a
Uh,
little bit ago, Jeff, you said before we get further in this, you said I want to. Did anybody else want to admit to a mistake? And I was thinking about that. Like I would like to amend my Mount Rushmore.
what?
I'd like to take a band and put another band on.
Phil, do you know how much work it takes to carve a band into a mountain?
I know. What if we just did like a little placard on the side, like a little sign that
No,
said like,
no.
or a little, what about an asterisk?
No. I got the jackhammer. We're gonna do this proper. We're gonna tear down Mount Rushmore again, and rebuild it. But since we're going, I feel like it has to be a full tear down. So I think that means we're all gonna. There's 4 of us here at this large table.
Why don't we all just pick one?
Yes, you read my mind, Phil.
Let's go. Let's just pick one. Okay. All right. This is fun. So now you guys, you get a chance to amend, but maybe we're like, maybe I should have had this on there instead of this other one. I think this is a great idea. Jeff, this is something we're going to do every year, at the end of every year. I think it's a great idea. Do you want to start?
No.
Or do you need me to start and keep rambling so you guys can think more about
No. I want you to start, Phil. I want you to set the precedent.
I am going to put to my Mount Rushmore a band that honestly was a band and an album that when we did the first episode, Jeff, episode 0, the very first episode, which starts with a 0, I was like, I wish I had done this instead. And that would be the Movie Life.
Ooh.
I would like to put the Movie Life on the Mount Rushmore.
Wow, that's a big jump for them. They celebrated 20 years of 40 Hours to Pen.
Right.
In 2023. The album that they put out and then broke up on tour.
Probably broke up afterward. Right. Yeah. It's just, again, one of those bands that, like, man, looking back, they probably should have been bigger, but they broke up right after the last album. Although that album was mostly them just realizing they can write a 4-minute song versus a 2-minute song. So, But yeah, I'm going to put the Movie Life up there.
All right. A Long Island band, too. So Billy Joel approved.
So who did you take off? Did you take someone off or did you just add 2?
Well, we demolished. They all came down. So
yeah. So Joe, could you add to this new Mount Rushmore?
Oh, I sure can. And I'm going to keep to the theme of Long Island heroes. He was included on my original Mount Rushmore, but as part of a band, I'm going to go with my personal Billy Joel, Lou Reed.
Ooh,
nice.
Also a Long Islander. I can't remember where he was from, but somewhere. And his parents sent him somewhere upstate to have electroshock therapy for having gay thoughts. So
wow,
I think that's how he got.
Oh boy, jeez. Freeport.
Yeah. He was born in Freeport.
Freeport, and died in a lovely town on the East End, Amagansett.
Right. And I believe, is Flava Flav also from Freeport?
He might be, yeah.
I believe he is.
Jeff, why is Flavor Flav becoming the new thing we talk about all the time instead of that band Cold?
Flavor Flav. I like Flavor Flav better.
Roosevelt. He's from Roosevelt. Close enough. It's close.
Like Howard Stern. We could just do where famous people from Long Island.
I was gonna say, yeah, De La Soul is from Amityville.
Oh, I don't think I knew that De La Soul is from Amityville.
Yeah. And they just released all their they pressed all their albums. They put all their music on Spotify finally, and then they also did represses of their albums. I actually grabbed 2 of them. A little De La Soul action for me this year.
Asha, what would you put on the new Mount Rushmore for this one episode?
I just had a thought and I'm gonna go with it. I don't listen to a lot of Long Island artists, so they're not from Long Island, but I'm gonna say Florence and the Machine.
Nice.
There you go. Nice.
I think the songwriting and musicality is 100% there with that group / Florence.
And now, where did she go to high school?
I'm assuming somewhere in the UK.
Got it. Okay.
She's originally from London, so somewhere, let's say somewhere in England.
Yeah, I all their albums are still hold up. The old stuff, the new stuff, still good. Still quality music. That's hard. That's hard to do over a decade.
100% with that. And think that Billy Joel's been doing it since the 70s.
Yeah, forever.
Jeff, what would you put on this high school? What would you put on
High
this?
school?
Yeah, I'm trying to find out where Florence of the Machine went to high school. So I'll keep on that. What would you put on this Mount Rushmore?
These are all great choices. I'm going back because this is the reason why I'm going back is because of corrections. You know, me and Phil did a 10 albums we bring with us to a deserted island, and I left out a band who is one of my favorite bands, and they put out 2 new albums this year. They had one, then surprised everybody with another one. They are colloquially known as the Sad Dads of indie rock. They are from Ohio originally, a lot of them, but they really formed in Brooklyn. So they consider themselves a Brooklyn band. They are the National. The National is going up on the mountain.
Good pick.
They're very important, not just to me, but I think the world. Well, I don't know if the world, but to their fans. They're very dedicated. And on these 2 albums, they've had some great special guests. They have Bon Iver does a song with them on the new one. Phoebe Bridgers does multiple songs with them on the new album, and of course they collaborated with one Taylor Swift, born in December 1989.
No, I had heard that she was born in November by a very trusted source. And you're just
Joe? I'm just saying you can't believe everything you hear on a podcast.
That's true. That's true.
Should we talk about this song?
Thank you, Asha. Thank you for getting us back on track. So we'll leave the very interesting looking Mount Rushmore of Movie Life, Lou Reed, Florence and the Machine, and the National, and we're going to talk about Billy Joel's "We Didn't Start the Fire." Asha, you had started us a little bit with the music about it, so I want to start. Can you tell me a little bit about the opening of this song? Because there's this weird like a weird like echoey thing, and then it goes and then there's like this really, what kind of drum are they doing in the beginning? Because it sounds like
bucket drummers.
Those are bucket drummers?
I don't know, but that's what it sounds like. I was listening to it driving to work the other day, and I was like, I don't remember this sounding like bucket drummers.
Let me listen to it again, because now I'm like, I just heard it, but I'm like, what?
It's not, the drumming is so different in the beginning than it is in the rest of the song. It feels like it's like a different drum. Maybe I'm wrong.
It just sounds like a crowd at the beginning.
There's a crowd.
Yeah.
But then the drums come in, and it sounds. See, now that Joe said bucket drummers, that's all I'm imagining. It's just like the guys on the sidewalk hitting. You know.
Yeah, it sounds like big stadium drums, like getting the crowd going.
You hear big stadium drums, and I hear bucket drums.
Well, there's bucket drums on top. That's like the high end drum, and then there's boom boom going on, like a big bass drum, like low end. So there's a lot of percussion going on. Yes, you immediately are like, this is a fast song, because it is.
Well, yeah, it's because it is a bit faster song for Billy. Not necessarily. He has some fast songs, I guess, in there, but it's definitely like a rock song, I guess. Because
I would say
guitar.
This is a rock song. Yeah.
Yeah. You have behind you right now, if people can't see because it's on a podcast, on your Zoom is Billy in a fire behind him, raging from the very, very 1989 music video that he does, where he's in all in black, so black sunglasses and just fire behind him. What do we think about
got me pumped. It got me pumped. Yeah.
Hell yeah. It's definitely a classic. I don't know if he won any Moon Men for it, but maybe he should have. What do we think about the Grammys?
Grammys. We're past Grammys, going right to MTV. Like,
well, Grammys are important too, I guess. We didn't start the fire. What does this title mean? What does that phrase mean?
All right. I guess I will go with my analysis is that, as he says, and the world's always, been turning, or the world's been burning, always been turning. There's always been strife. There's always been issues. There's always been big media storms forever. Like, humanity is always going to have big problems, and we didn't start it, but we're just along for the ride. The planet's going to keep spinning no matter what, and we're just here along for the ride.
Planet's going to keep spinning. In 1989, we weren't worried about the planet dying as much, I guess.
But we were worried about nuclear war with Russia.
That's true.
So the fact that there was a second one made because we didn't explode from a giant nuclear war is actually something to be proud of.
Yeah, I'm still afraid about nuclear war with Russia.
That's true. Not much has changed, really.
So the song's right.
Yeah.
It's basically what it comes down to, is that 100% you're on there. Is that it's this, look, we didn't start this, but it's going to keep going. And as Billy says,
we've inherited it though, from our parents, and we'll keep giving it to the next generation because that's what we do as humans.
And I guess the point is to point that out so that maybe perhaps we could finally put out the fire, Do
we want to put out the fire though?
I think the fire, my takeaway from the song is, one of my takeaways is that everything good and bad is just flows like a wave through humanity. So it's like you have all these cultural touch points and then all these tragic things listed throughout the song. And it's kind of like throughout history, this just happens, right? Like horrible shit happens, good shit happens. It just kind of flows through human existence.
Sure.
I think that makes a lot of sense because it is interesting because it's now having a new one to analyze, which we can analyze differently because it's really our time is the next one. How he I wonder the sense memory he used be what's the most important stuff that kind of pops out first and then kind of filling it in.
I feel like his is almost like a time capsule. It's instead of burying it in the ground, he's I'm just gonna make a song that's a time capsule of this time period.
Well, and I think the way it's structured, it follows a timeline, right? Yes. So that might have been helpful for him to go back to where he was born and just kind of think about what events happened every year, every so many years up until where they're at right now. Because I definitely think nearly everything in here is pretty sequential. The start of it worked its way toward the 1980s.
For the most part, yeah. But I would say though, that's such a boring human way of looking at time that it goes in order. When we all know that at time we just can't see the other dimension where all time is happening at once. So with that argument, you could really mix it up if you really wanted to. You don't have to go by this man-made chronology. Which is
interesting because he does reference Stranger in a Strange Land, which is a Heinlein novel that's all about space and time travel and not seeing things.
I'm just setting up my defense for the next song. So I don't think we need chronological order.
It's also interesting because his whole thing is nostalgia. In the early 80s, his whole 50s vibe, 50s guy vibe.
Did he have that vibe?
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, sitting by a piano doing Piano Man is definitely a more 50s kind of.
Or what's the song? There's one where he's a greaser. He's a mechanic.
Oh, that's Uptown Girl.
Uptown Girl.
No, Keeping the Faith. Oh, is it Uptown Girl?
Yeah,
he's Uptown Girl. He's the mechanic. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, that's probably because he was born in 1948. You said.
48.
Yeah. So so he's a teenager in the 50s, and he probably looked up to those guys as the hot shit at the time.
Well, even thinking, I think, the 1980s, we had a resurgence of the 1950s as a thing, right?
Totally.
Because you had all the movies. I immediately went to Back to the Future, which goes back to 1955 from 85. Even I think La Bamba is even in the 1980s, and that's about the 1950s.
Well, and I think Dirty Dancing was also.
Dirty Dancing was in the 50s. Yeah, that was in the 50s. But then even musically, you had the Stray Cats bring back rockabilly, which was a big thing in the 50s. So there was like this resurgence and nostalgic love for all the stuff. Very similar to how right now it seems to be very loving the 1990s and the 2000s. Like you walk around Target right now and it's like, wow, that's the stuff I wore when I was younger.
Oh yeah, low-rise jeans and thongs sticking out. That is
I
right
mean,
back to it.
I had heard that came back, and I was like, "There's no way that came back." And no, sure enough, that came back.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, listen to the new Olivia Rodrigo album that just came out, and it's flavored in 90s alt rock and 2000s pop punk. It's just
that is a great album. That was a great album.
So this first verse, he rattles off Harry Truman, Doris Day, Red China, Johnny Ray, South Pacific, Walter Winchell, Joe DiMaggio, Joe McCarthy, Richard Nixon, Studebaker, Television, North Korea, South Korea, Marilyn Monroe. We don't have to go through all of these because
that's a lot.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. But you got to say it, Joe DiMaggio.
Right.
Marilyn Monroe. It's like he does such an emphasis on the last syllable.
But like Harry Truman was the president when he was born.
So
I didn't know who Johnny Ray was. What?
Very crucial that he starts with Harry Truman because it is like I feel like the election of Harry Truman is like foundational to the Cold War, and it's like again.
Doesn't he start the FBI too? Isn't that was Harry Truman?
I think whatever they had during World War II gets converted to like get changed.
And he's also the guy responsible for bombing Japan.
Yes.
Right. That's true. So like Harry Truman really kicks off the Cold War.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because he's the president during time frame when World War II ends, and then it's essentially when World War II ends, the Cold War starts, and that's between us and Russia. If everybody doesn't know that,
he wasn't supposed to be like it was by chance that he was vice president when FDR died. FDR for his three previous terms had different VP.
Truman created the CIA. Apparently, he was president when CIA was created, which again helps with Russia and all that other stuff.
Which the CIA, I think the first head of the CIA was Prescott Bush. And in 1989, when this song came out, it was the first year of George Bush's presidency.
Well, interesting.
Ooh.
Read my lips. No nepotism. Sorry.
Right. We live in a merit-based society. It's a meritocracy.
And I remember, if I remember right, George Bush was also the head of CIA.
Yes.
He was before he was the president. He was the head of CIA. That's right.
I don't know if Prescott was the head of the CIA. He was involved in like nefarious stuff, though. I don't have specifics.
I am unsurprised that a member of the Bush family has been part of nefarious things. This is my unsurprised face.
Yeah.
It is interesting also in the song that Richard Nixon is basically mentioned twice, right? Because then he's mentioned later for
why is he mentioned so early?
Because he was an actor, right? And then eventually
No, Ronald Reagan.
That was Reagan.
Oh, sorry. You're right.
Nixon in 1950, it was his first term in the Senate, and then he got elected. Oh, he was Eisenhower's vice president.
And Eisenhower is mentioned later.
Okay.
In the next verse.
Yeah, because like McCarthyism, I know why that's there. The Studebaker television, I get all that. North and South Korea, that's 1950s. We're going to Korean War. You get the next year, you get you get into the next section. You get Marlon Brando, who was cool as all hell back then, and then The Catcher in the Rye, Eisenhower. Our first vaccines. Queen Elizabeth, there's a queen. Is that Luke Marciano? That's the boxer, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
It's weird that he mentioned Sugar Ray. I didn't think that they had been around that long.
Yeah.
I know, and Sugar Ray came before you too in this song. It's crazy.
I'll never understand the trajectory of what happened with Sugar Ray because like they were like a punk band, right? Like a real punk band.
I thought they were more like ska, right? They're like the.
Yeah.
See, I keep what? Go ahead.
Time? Oh, it's just like that was such a weird time where it's like bands would just be like, I'm playing like this really weird, digitally recorded metal kind of like very commercial, slick sounding, and then have like a ska song, and it's all on the same album. And you're like, what? What is music? This what's
Very
happening?
strange. Very
I kind of
strange
miss
time.
it. I miss
Yeah.
that you could just do that and it was cool.
Rocky Marciano. Okay,
There it is.
yeah. He was the boxer, I believe. Did you ever see the movie about the French singer? What's her name? Oh my God,
Edith Piaf?
Edith Piaf. Yes, wasn't she like in a relationship with him at one point when he died?
I've never heard.
I saw that movie,
I
and
don't
that's what I
know.
remember.
Huh.
You know what? It's what really is happening here. I realize how much I must have failed that social studies assignment back in middle school because I don't. There's a lot of names here which I never even like very vague references to.
But I think because maybe we weren't the generation this was speaking to, because this is like the boomer song, right? I mean, to be honest. And Fall Out Boy is a millennial version of it, because like you go to the Fall Out Boy version, I know a lot more things. Like I could here I'm like, okay, there's a lot of musical stuff in this song that I can connect to, and I can like the Rock Around the Clock with Bill Haley in the comments. You've got U2, the Buddy Holly, but U2, not the band.
Yeah,
I know it's the spy
not
plane.
the band, the spy plane, but it's there. Buddy Holly is there. Kerouac, we've talked about Kerouac before.
Prokofiev, which is a famous like classical composer.
British Beatlemania. I don't know why we have to be very specific on the British Beatlemania, because I don't think there was a
Grace Kelly also was like Disneyland.
Elvis. Well, also I want to point out he also says Brooklyn's got a winning team. He's talking about the Dodgers finally winning the World Series, and then there's like the sound effect of like the sports cheer in the song. He only does this twice, where he like adds a sound effect to like. We'll get to the next one is when he mentions Psycho. The Psycho song comes on.
Yeah.
But that's the only time he decides to do that with those two. It's just like, but yeah, because I guess that's the Jackie Robinson era. The Brooklyn Dodgers were always second to the New York Yankees, and then they finally won the World Series. And then they moved to Los Angeles. So there you go, which we get into later where he says California baseball. So I imagine the Brooklyn, I wonder if he was a Brooklyn Dodgers fan as a kid, and it affected him a lot that they left after winning. I wonder.
Sure, I can see that.
Well, because when did the Mets come? Mets were like mid 60s, right? Early 60s. It was early. Okay.
Well, the Mets came. So like I know this because my grandparents were the perfect first Mets fans, because my grandmother was from Brooklyn and was a Dodgers fan. My grandfather was in the city and he was a Giants fan. And they both disliked the Yankees because they were Dodgers and Giants fans. So when both their teams left for California, they were like, well, I'll just root against the Yankees, I guess. And then the Mets came, which is the perfect combination with the Dodger blue and the orange and white from the Giants, made the Mets. Yeah.
Very smart play by them to do that with the two colors. Very smart play. Well, it's very similar to when I moved to New Hampshire. I grew up a Met fan, but I live in New Hampshire, and like it's like part of the way up here. You have to be a Red Sox fan, which is fine, because when I met my wife, we started watching the 2003 World baseball season. I became a big Sox fan just because of that team. But mostly, it made it very easy to transition from a Met fan to a Red Sox fan, because
they're equally disappointing.
Well, one, particularly this year, was horrible. No, but two, I can just continue my dislike of the Yankees. That's really all it comes down to. It was an easy slide into like, nah, still hate the Yankees. Sorry, Yankee fans. But I'm not sorry.
Also, the Red Sox helped the Mets win that World Series in 1986, if you ever watched the Bad Boys documentary of baseball.
Yeah, I'm going to go. I wasn't a Sox fan during that time frame. I'm going to tell you this, though, with the Sox. They also lost Game 7, guys. Like, it wasn't that it was Game 6, and that was it.
Yeah, but they weren't going to win Game 7 after the comeback in Game 6.
No.
That's also,
anyway.
This is a good opportunity to talk about anybody whose parents have anything to do with the stuff we're talking about, because my dad actually went to the 1986 Game 6.
Did he really?
He was at that game, yeah. He still has the ticket stub in our home basement. That he was there. Our neighbor just asked him randomly, and he my dad just went, and it was like the most important game in Mets history.
Honestly, that's imagine all of a sudden you go and you literally witness one of the most important things ever happened to your ball club. That's crazy.
And my dad's a Yankee fan.
And you're wow. That's something Billy Joel should have added here to this song about Buckner missing the baseball.
Well, I wonder if he's a Mets fan. I don't know, but I think it's interesting that he does. I think it's important for now that we remember that he's talking about New York sports teams specifically, because that will come to play later when we listen to the Chicago Act, because their sports references are very Chicago.
He strikes me as a Yankee fan. I feel like he should be a Met fan, but he strikes me as a Yankee fan, if that makes sense.
I also feel like my parents had a videotape of Billy Joel live at Yankee Stadium.
Oh.
Is that possible? Like a live concert? That's a memory just coming back to me that we might have had that.
Could be.
Anybody else have something about their father they want to talk about?
Yeah, I'll jump right in. I want to preface by asking if anyone's ever seen the documentary Hired Gun.
I have.
I have not.
Jeff, you have. Asha, have you?
No.
It's about studio musicians, and it's long. It's like 3 hours long. But like a third of the movie is just all these studio musicians talking shit about Billy Joel and like how awful and like he's just like a megalomaniac and terrible and always treated his band so terribly. Like at the beginning of his career, he was very into like being a band, not being like Billy Joel, a personality. And then once he starts like making a name for himself and getting famous, he like kicked his touring band off the plane. He like flew by himself on a private plane and made them fly commercial. And just like no one has anything nice to say about him, which speaks to my connection to Billy Joel, which is for the longest time I thought that Billy Joel played at my dad's prom, but my dad recently corrected that my dad's band in high school lost to Billy Joel's band.
In like a battle of the bands?
A battle of the bands?
Yeah. And he's never quite recovered from that.
Did your dad quit music because of that?
Yes. But he still likes he still would listen to Billy Joel.
He can set aside a personal vendetta to appreciate the music, I guess.
I guess.
I couldn't do it. I'm not that big of a person, but
yeah.
Props to your dad.
So, yeah, that's my relationship with Billy Joel. I also, growing up in Long Island, I didn't realize that Billy Joel was like world famous. I thought he was just like a regional thing.
Well, he's a very regional musician. Yeah, like all of his music is very about Long Island, which is why I'm like, why is this such a popular thing? Like I was in Thailand a few years ago on vacation, and there was a like a cover band doing like Billy Joel and like all these other like very American artists like Bruce Springsteen, and they knew no English, but they knew these songs. And I was like, but why? They're so specific to this place and time.
It's weird.
Well, it's like you play scenes from an Italian restaurant. That's like every like Long Islander's like, oh yeah, I know my place down in New York City, and that's where I go to get my food all the time. Yeah, we just embrace everything. Is there two things? One, does anybody, when you hear Billy Joel just in general, conjure any specific memories outside of what we just? I'm very sad now.
When he shamed his father, yeah, I think that's you carry that with you.
Does anything else like immediately get conjured up as an image when you hear Billy Joel?
Well, the Piano Man always just makes me sad. Like that song is so like specific in the story that he's telling, and as a musician who's still trying to make it, I'm like, am I gonna end up as this guy playing at a piano bar, like being sad that my music career never took off? But his music career did take off, so I'm like, this isn't even a true story for you. Like it's a weird song to me because of that.
You got a $50 million house, bro. Like
yeah.
But that song, didn't that come out? He wrote that song about the time when he was struggling. Like he actually came out, he left Long Island, left the East Coast and actually New York, and actually went to LA for a bit. That's why he has all these like anti-LA songs, like Say Goodbye to Hollywood and things like that. Like he was a piano man at a bar in LA, I believe, and it just wasn't happening. So that he's using that one moment where he was not successful.
It's also like that's his Faustian bargain, right? Like that song made him. Yeah. And now it's about him not making it. And now he has to play that song every night of tour.
Forever.
You know, forever. And he hates it, apparently.
Apparently he also hates this song too.
Yeah.
This is another one where
this song, it's so weird. Asha could probably speak to it better, but like, there's no melody in this song, but the hook is good. Like
Yes,
that little,
yeah,
like,
the hook is really good, and it like pumps you up. Like I got goosebumps listening earlier. I was like, yeah, I can see why people like it. Like it has that quality. It just gets repeated too many times, and there's not really a bridge. There is a bridge, but it's not that different. So.
And he gets angrier as the song goes on.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like he gets more and more like exasperated and just kind of, you know, fed up with everything he's saying.
Well, I think I'm glad you brought that up because I feel like it really comes to this place of anger and just overwhelmingness that he's feeling, especially when you get to the Pope Paul, Malcolm X, British politician sex, JFK blown away. What else do I have to say? Like, because that is, if you talked, I mean, I remember talking to my parents about this. Like, my dad would always say, like, oh, JFK being assassinated is like the day everyone knows where they were, kind of thing of that generation. It's just like
it's the 9/11 of their time.
Exactly, which will be important in the next song that we look at. But like, he definitely like it starts off nostalgia and probably more like reverence for the things that he remembers from his childhood. The stuff that he's actually experienced as an adult is a lot more intense, right? Because then it gets, continue on. He starts Richard Nixon back again, Moonshot, Woodstock, Watergate, punk rock, terror on the airline, Russians in Afghanistan. Like then you get to like heavy metal, suicide, foreign debts, homeless vets, AIDS, crack, like hypodermics on the shores. Things are getting worse, it sounds like.
Yeah, right. I think it starts as like this 50s idyllic kind of place. Not idyllic because it's still not great, but it's like a little bit lighter. And then it just gets like, the closer you get to like 1989, it gets more and more intense. Because that's when really the like media started becoming such an important thing to humanity. Everyone knew about everything. Not like we have today, but it's starting to get there. You have the news. But I'm always interested that Rock and Roller Cola Wars, I can't take it anymore, is the line where he really loses it. I'm like, out of all the things, it's like Coca-Cola.
Well, Rock and Roller Cola Wars, what does that even mean? Like,
it said in the like write-up that it was about like the difference between like Pepsi and Coke or something.
Pepsi and Coke, yeah.
Campaigns using rock stars.
So it's like capitalism at its finest.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's like 1989, the Soviet Union collapses. So it's like he's written this song that's got naming all of these politicians. And it starts on Harry Truman. We're talking about atomic, nuclear war. And also it's you have all of these like cultural things that really is what won the Cold War for. I mean, I don't know if you could say anyone won it, but like all of these things are largely how America fought the Cold War, all these cultural things, right? And capitalism and
advertising.
And it ends on that. It's like we go from Harry Truman to Coca-Cola.
I remember the Michael Jackson commercial for Coke, New Coke. That's what it was, New Coke.
Yeah.
And like he's like dancing in the street. There's like kids dancing in the street. And I remember that.
Those are his dates.
Oh. Little real.
That's a little too close.
It was like Billy Joel's hits or Michael Jackson's, but Por qué no los dos, I guess.
What was I gonna say?
I don't know. Can you top that?
Speaking of children and childhood, would there anybody have ones that you obviously when you're a kid, and to this day I mishear lyrics and think it's something else? Does anybody have one where they were like as a kid like what? Because mine was very much this just tells you exactly this is the most Jeff thing there is. When I heard Trouble in the Sewers,
right?
Sewers, I thought it was like the Ninja Turtles situation.
Yeah,
I really did. Like it was like.
Well, I remember when we were younger, there was all this like huffalabaloo about crocodiles in the sewers in New York City, and like don't ever like go down the sewers in New York City because I often would do that. By the way, you'd get eaten by the alligators and crocodiles down there.
Yeah, but it's also because we're from Long Island that you hear it as Suez,
Suez.
I didn't realize that it was Suez until maybe 3 years ago.
when there was another Suez Canal incident
Yeah.
that happened. Yeah. And then I'm like, oh, yeah, that's when it all came together. I'm like, oh, what was the trouble in the Suez when he's talking about it? Anybody know?
Yes,
It's in here somewhere, right?
It was the second Arab-Israeli conflict, and Israel, France, and the UK invaded Egypt.
Oh.
And then the Soviet Union and the UN got them to pull out.
Wow. That is trouble.
That is trouble.
Big trouble.
Another question. Bridge on the River Kwai. Has anybody ever seen this film?
I have.
I have as well.
I have not.
Alec Guinness. It's fantastic.
Alec Guinness, fantastic movie, yeah.
But it's like very much, it's 50s, I believe.
I 58, 59, maybe.
Yeah, it's a World War II movie.
Yeah.
I always wondered why that movie made it.
That was a big. I was so close. I said it's 57. It is 1957. Why that movie? That is a really good question. I think it was a very big movie.
With Chow and Lai.
What's that?
It rhymes with Chow and Lai.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, maybe that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we're gonna run into that a lot in the Fallout Boy, where we have to like kind of get something.
You have to make
because yeah.
Right.
But you're also making choices. Like the movies is interesting to me because like how do you choose? We'll talk about that a little bit more when we get to our thing, but like Psycho makes it obviously. Psycho is like a cultural phenomenon, I imagine, which is probably why. And also, I guess it goes back to his age as well. I'm sure he was at an age when like everyone's like, "Oh my god, Psycho," but like he doesn't like mention Star Wars in this.
True,
No,
big
he
omission.
doesn't.
Major snub.
Yeah.
What? That's what's missing.
Well, I'm just thinking like cultural phenomenons that happened, and I feel like Star Wars was in this. 77.
Yeah, or you're just a George Lucas reference in general because he also had like other movies at that time.
Yeah. Interesting choices.
Interesting choices.
He doesn't mention Spielberg. Right? No, does he? No.
No.
I think they do it in the
next one. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, he's just mentioning Ayatollahs in Iran and John Glenn.
John Glenn.
Yeah, he mentions more like classical actors like Marilyn Monroe and there's a couple of other people, but I feel like he was more going for like old Hollywood.
Well, again, even going back to like I imagine more of his youth, he does say like Davy Crockett, Peter Pan.
Yeah,
like that sounds like stuff maybe movies or characters he enjoyed as a kid. And that leads to Disneyland. And of course, Princess Grace, which is Grace Kelly, became a princess, which is funny. We don't have that. Oh, we do. There is. So
yeah, we do. We have Meghan Markle.
no, they mentioned it too in the Fall Out Boy one. Like, I think that's my favorite part of the Fall Out Boy is when I can like make those connections. Oh, he mentioned Princess Grace.
He mentioned Suez Canal also, doesn't he? It's
yeah.
Like, still trouble in the Suez. Like things literally never change. It's like they change, but they don't. Should we move on to the Fall Out Boy?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, does anybody else have anything else they want to say about this? Because before we move up to Fall Out Boy, we have to play the song. So
we do. The only Billy Joel thing I want to get out there is when I think of Billy Joel, I think of Uptown Girl, which we talked about, and that makes me think of the Comac roller rink.
Oh wow.
Oh man.
Right? They used to play that little disco ball in the middle, and they would play this song, and you'd go around in the circle dancing into it.
I literally did disco like skating last night.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Did they play Uptown Girl?
No, it was a Barbie party, so it was all like Barbie music and stuff.
That's fair.
And Uptown Girl's not a Barbie song?
Not for not LA.
Well,
not for this crowd.
Well, strap on your roller skates at home because we are about to listen to Billy Joel's 1989 hit single, "We Didn't Start the Fire." Here we go. All right, there you have it. One more Billy Joel anecdote for y'all out there in podcast land and here at this diner table. Yes, Flo, I'd love some more coffee. Thank you. That's really kind of you.
Thanks, Flo.
Thank you. My uncle.
I love you went full boat with that, with the pantomime too. I love it.
Pantomime.
It's all real. It's all real.
We're all authentic here, Phil.
100%.
My uncle most of my life, owned a tackle shop in Amagansett, out east on Long Island. And Billy Joel was one of his customers. And my mom had said, "Oh, I bet Jeff would love an autograph from Billy Joel." So my uncle had to do the awkward thing of ask for an autograph. And he did it. He gave it to me. And it just said, "To Jeff, cheers, Billy Joel," on like a business card.
I feel like that's a nice version. I feel like he could have just been like, "Fuck off and die, Billy Joel," you know?
I think from what I understand, he was like, "I'll do it," but like it clearly wasn't like he was thrilled about it, kind of thing. Which, you know,
does anyone have a single nice story to say about this man? Like,
there's that viral video of him finding a broken piano in Huntington a couple years ago, and he just starts playing and saying, "This is a pretty good piano." I don't know. People
that doesn't redeem him at all.
Yeah. What's he doing in Huntington?
I don't know. The important thing is
not giving money to the poor, I assure you.
So that my uncle did that for me. So one day, I hope that I am working in a tackle shop or something, and either Pete Wentz or Patrick Stump come in, and I can get their autograph for my nephew. That's what I'd like to have happen. That would be a really full circle moment to really help with this 2023 new cover of We Didn't Start the Fire, covering the events from 1989 to 2023. Fall Out Boy released that this year. Finally, someone has had the gumption to make a sequel, because it was time. It was really time.
I don't think it's a sequel. I feel like it's just a continuation.
Yeah, that's true. That's continuing the tradition. What does Ray think about this song? And you can be very honest here.
I do not care for it.
Oh, wow. Well, that's not the answer I wanted to hear.
I will say that I still can't believe there is no mention of COVID in this song. It should have had its own verse or a chorus. Like, it should have been its own section that was just things happening during COVID. And because that was all of our lives for 3 years minimum.
I feel like you could do a whole version of the song that's just like Netflix fads that people went through during COVID.
Yeah.
Well, I think, okay, so.
I still think they could have had a chorus that's just, "We didn't start the COVID." Like, that could have just been its own thing entirely, like a whole minute dedicated just to that.
Well, my rebuttal to all this. Couple things. One, Phil, does Billy Joel mention the Berlin Wall coming down in the first We Didn't Start the Fire?
It hadn't come down.
I don't think so.
It didn't come down. It came down in technically like 1989 into like 1993 or something.
Right.
So
it took a while.
It took a while.
Yeah,
right.
and it took a while. Yeah, I don't think it actually had happened by the time this was added to the album.
I need to check this, because I feel like it was right around when this song came out.
It was around that time, but like,
it would have been
communism started falling around 1989. So I think they
November
started.
9th. So this song came out September 18th, and the wall fell November 9th, 1989.
Yeah.
So
right after.
So we're saying this song is basically the reason why the Berlin Wall
did it.
Yeah. Great job, Billy.
So that's his contribution to society. The one nice thing he did.
2 months, probably the whole thing in Ukraine will be over, right? Because of Fall Out Boy.
That's what I think is happening. Yeah.
Oh,
definitely.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be nice.
That would be nice.
The other thing is, so this song came out. Fall Out Boy just put a new record out this year called "So Much for Stardust." Such parentheses for Stardust. They have a song on the album called "What a Time to Be Alive." That's kind of like a disco-y wedding song that's actually about quarantining, the quarantine blues, basically. So my only thought was maybe that because they had just done a whole song on that subject, that they feel like they covered that. But it is a weird thing to not mention it somewhere in this, just because obviously it's been one of the most important events worldwide that's happened, I feel like, in our time. So it is an interesting choice for sure. But I also like, again, doing what Billy Joel did, like, they have to make it their version, and they have to mention a lot of things, but they can't get too far into a lot of things. And it's interesting to figure out what they picked and we'll go through it because this is all stuff we've experienced. And then also, I would love to hear what some other things that people kind of wish was in here, things that you would have added or focused on. All right, so Joe doesn't love this song. That's a nay from Joe. Asha, thumbs up or thumbs down overall?
I appreciate that it exists. I think it's like cool that they did it. Again, it was never a good song to begin with, really. So it was like, did we need one? No. Is it cool that they did it? Yeah. I don't think they like added or took anything away from the original. Do we have any idea what Billy Joel thinks about it? Like, I would love to hear if he has even listened to it, or I'm sure they had to ask his permission to do it, but like, I would like to know what he thinks.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't read any like sound bites about him coming out and mentioning it.
He's too busy on his palatial estate to even listen to it, probably.
Right.
I would say he probably doesn't like it because there's no mention of anything that happened in the 50s. So that's an automatic, like,
they never even mentioned Billy Joel. They should have been like, and then there's a piano man, like they should have put him in there a little bit.
They really should have put him in there. Like how Stan Lee always does a little cameo.
Yeah. Phil, do you like this song?
Do I like this song?
Yes.
That's a good question. I do actually like this song. I agree with Asha a little bit. I'm like, I don't know if we needed it because it's not its own. It's not a cover. It's like they are continuing the story, which is very similar to the point of the song. The song just is continuing on and it doesn't really ever end. So I like the song. I wish it was a little more linear, like chronologically speaking. I don't like the jumping around, but maybe that's a statement on our ADHD minds we have nowadays, because I know that's how I am.
I love that.
I don't know if that's really a thing. I made that up completely. To answer your other question, yes, he said, Billy Joel said, I've done part 1, so Fall Out Boy, go ahead. Great, take it away. You guys can do part 2.
I could see this continuing on every, was it 30, 40 years?
34 years. Yeah.
Someone else does it in the next 34 years, and then just keep it going. Like like I said, it's a time capsule. It's more more of a time capsule than a song to me. Like, chorus is great, but I'm like, all right, you didn't add or anything to the chorus, so that's fine. But yeah, continue it on another 34 years if you want.
I mean,
it's also just thinking like it not being linear. Like when he wrote it, he was writing an original song, so he could fit that rhyme scheme, with whatever, and like choose. This, like, you're having to match an existing rhyme scheme that's pretty insane at times. So that I imagine is why they probably would have wanted to do it linear, like the original.
They might have tried, and it might have been too
late. Tried. Well, because the linear works. Because remember, it said with Billy's version that he gets kind of mad by the end of the song. And it's because it's been chronologically working our way through and kind of building towards something. Fall Out Boy tries to match it in this song with, because Patrick gets angry sounding a couple of times, but it doesn't feel, for me personally, it doesn't feel the same way as it did with Billy's song, because we're not building toward chronologically. This happened. This happened.
Not chronologically, agree, but I do think that it was good. Maybe not good, but I think World Trade, Second Plane, what else do I have to say? And then that's like kind of the end of the song. That's like, what else can you say? Like, that's like the biggest moment in our time, like in our life that happened, like, for sure. And probably maybe for hopefully a long time, because that was such an insane event that it's like, that makes sense that like, that's the focal point. That's the build to it.
It's almost like they probably had that first. Like they probably said, like, what's our JFK blown away?
It's World Trade, So I appreciate they kind of they match the moments to different things, like that makes sense. Like Bush versus Gore, I can't take it anymore. Like that makes sense too. Suez, right back in there.
Right back in the Suez. Because I've talked to my parents, and they both actually could rat off specifically where they were when they heard that JFK was shot. And I know I can rat off very specifically where I was when I first looked up at a TV screen and that a plane had hit a building. Like I was in college. I was in Dempster Hall at Hofstra, where the communication building. I was looking up at the screen. Jeff, you and I were about to go to a class together. remember that's specifically where I was.
You
So
guys
like,
are so much older than me. I was like still in middle school when this happened.
yeah.
Can I tell you guys, just not to harp on 9/11, but my wife has the most amazing 9/11 story because she's also like younger than me. So I was in college watching from Hofstra as well.
Yep.
She was on a class camping trip. So she was in the woods with any kind of information, did not find out 9/11 happened until that Friday when
Oh
they
my
were
gosh.
coming home. They get to the buses, they're going home, and before they leave, someone is like, we want to let you know the United States has been attacked. And then they put on Mission Impossible.
I didn't understand what the World Trade Center was, and I came home from school. They didn't talk about it at my school at all. There was none of that happening at my school. I was in Massachusetts, though, so it's like, I guess, who cares? I don't know. And then I got home, and my very Polish grandmother, she's just like, look at the TV. They hit the World Trade. And I'm like, what does that mean? I don't understand. And then I watched the news. I was like, oh, this is a big deal. Like, I had no idea. I was a dum-dum living in Massachusetts.
I had heard a story, flipping gears a little bit, Joe, kind of going with where you went with your wife. I had heard a story that Jared Leto had no idea that COVID had come into America because he went on a like 2-week, like no cell phone, no internet, like sabbatical cult. Yeah. And then emerged
out of
and
his
then learned
cocoon.
out of his cocoon, refreshed and looking impossibly young. And the COVID had happened, and he was like, "What is going on? What has happened in the last 2 weeks?" I'm like, "Bro, a lot happened in 2 weeks."
That's like how my friend was teaching English in Japan, and he came back to the United States and was like, "What's Twilight?"
Is Twilight in here? Hold on.
Sure is.
Yes, it is.
Sure,
it
yeah.
is. It is.
Twilight, yeah, there it is. Yeah, Harry Potter, Twilight.
Oh yeah. So
Go ahead, Jeff.
No. I want to so Fall Out Boy. We haven't covered Fall Out Boy yet on this podcast yet. We will.
That's a surprise.
It is. We're saving. We're gonna do a lot of Fall Out Boy. Don't you worry. Fall Out Boy is very important to me. I just remembered actually yesterday they had an EP after their first album. Take this from the grave. They had an EP. My Heart is the B-side to Your Love, I believe it's called. I realized I was listening to it. It's an all acoustic EP, and Joe, you're not going to be very happy when I say this, but they do a cover of Level Tear Us Apart, and that's actually how I kind of discovered Joy Division, was through a Fall Out Boy cover. Level Tear Us Apart.
I'm not gonna lie, that's how I got into Kate Bush, was because of Placebo's cover of Running Up That Hill, which is a really good cover, and everyone else has tried to cover it. I'm like, stop it. Stop it right now. Too much. Everyone needs to stop trying to cover that song. Everyone needs to leave Kate Bush alone.
I agree.
Good. I'm glad we're in agreement. Anyway, I just have to make one point, is that I'm looking at the lyrics of this version, and I love that Kurt Cobain and Pokemon are next to each other.
My favorite part of the whole song.
Is that's your favorite part of the whole song? The combination of those two?
It's what, I don't know why, but that summed up my life in such a succinct way.
It's such a millennial. It's like, yeah, I like Kurt Cobain and anime. I love it.
Yeah.
I just like go ahead, Joe.
Oh, I was sorry. I was gonna say, I don't like how Oklahoma, that Pokemon is the end rhyme of Oklahoma City Bomb, where a preschool was famously blown up. A little fucked up.
It's a choice.
Yeah.
It's a choice.
Well, let's see, a couple of times. The one choice I am definitely not a fan on is doing Bobbit John. Person with names. Yeah, not a fan of that. I feel like that's just trying so hard to get it to fit a certain way, and I'm not big on that one.
Sorry guys, real quick, another apology. The EP from Fall Out Boy where I learned about Level Tear Us Apart is called My Heart Will Always Be the B-side to My Tongue. Very important that I got that out there.
Thank you for
highly recommend that. Joe, you should really check out their cover. I think you'll like it more than the original Joy Division. I know I do.
I will say, so the other day I came home and my daughter was watching something, and I was like, this voice sounds very familiar. So apparently Patrick Stump does the music for the animated like children's Spider-Man on
Yep.
Disney.
He sure does. And I'm
That
glad you
guy's
brought that up.
busy. Dang,
He really is.
has
Yeah.
so much work. Jeez.
He does well, he does composing, and he does theme songs, and he and fronts.
Sure does sound like the guy from Fall Out Boy. And
It was.
there you go. Yeah.
Also, do they mention Star Wars in this one either?
They don't.
Wow, Star Wars, but he does mention Spielberg, but he doesn't mention George Lucas. It's like, come on. Or like, John Williams or something, like something to like give it to
well, you couldn't. I feel like one of the things I wrote down you could have said something like the prequels, and then everyone know what you're talking about. Like
right.
without.
But he mentions SSRIs. I'm like,
well, that was very important to our generation.
While we're on the Star Wars thing, not only does he not mention Star Wars, he also doesn't mention Star Wars, the like Ronald Reagan,
the actual, the weapon system. Yes,
he misses twice.
Wait, that's Billy. Right.
Yeah, neither one of them. But they mentioned Twilight, which is why I'm like, you mentioned Twilight, but not Star Wars?
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
And Harry Potter, but not Star Wars?
I mean, you think that would be where. Well, again, Star Wars, I mean, in Fall Out Boy's point of view, Star Wars did happen before 89, so maybe that was why, like, I understand
but
that.
then there's the prequels, and
Right,
all
the
the other
prequels.
subsequent crap. Also, did they mention Disney at all in this one? Because I mean, Disney is taking over life.
Iron Man?
Iron Man.
Marvel.
I feel like
And
Iron Man could have been replaced with Star Wars or some other Disney entity over Iron Man. Or just like, Marvel or something.
Well, it's funny. He has Keaton Batman.
Yeah.
But that's the only Batman they mentioned when there was many Batmans in this millennial generation. I also would have personally loved a little like Toby, Andrew, Tom Spider-Man line or something, because we're Spider-Mans.
Totally.
Maybe contractually he can't comment on Spider-Man because of his.
Because of his
Batman?
Oh yeah, he does the theme song.
Yeah.
That makes me even more upset about it. Maybe he's just sick of it. Going back to, they wrote a song about the COVID and the lockdown, and he would write the theme song Spider-Man. Maybe they just were like, we've covered this territory in other projects. So.
But if you're gonna do a standalone like this, I think you have to kind of cover it all, Like,
that's true.
I'm not gonna go and listen to that Fall Out Boy album. No offense. It's just not my thing.
Why not? It's great.
I have enough to listen. I have a weird music listening situation because I work in music, but like so I want, if I'm gonna listen to one standalone song about everything that's happened from 1989 to now, I want all the meat.
Got it. Well, Asha's not going to listen to So Much for Stardust, but everyone else should, because I want to tell you, it's one of my favorite Fall Out Boy albums ever, and very rarely does a band late in their career have an album that I'm like, oh, this is up there for me.
Okay, but for those who have musical ADD, as we've been talking about having short attention spans, what's one song that could be a gateway to that album?
I would start with the first track. Really sets like the stage.
Okay.
First song on the album. It's like the first single they put out too. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. We're talking about We Didn't Start the Fire. We had talked about earlier how Billy started off with Harry Truman, and Joe, you had a really interesting point about how Harry Truman started the Cold War. It was like really huge. So I think that Fall Out Boy has to match that with theirs.
And boy, did
they did. Captain Planet.
Captain Planet.
But
I don't understand that. I'm like, I don't really know anything about Captain Planet, so I'm like, it doesn't mean anything to me.
It's like the most 90s cartoon like ever.
Do you think that this is so stupid?
But I do like that they started Harry Potter in the second. So I'm like, there's a Harry in there.
There is, but Captain Planet, I think, is bigger than just a silly cartoon from the 90s. Right. I mean, I really think thematically, what's the biggest concern of our existence? Our existential crisis of climate change.
Right.
What we need most of all is a real Captain Planet to save us.
But then they mentioned Musk, who wants to be Captain Planet, but really isn't.
I honestly, remember when Captain Planet came out and with those? I remember when I was about 10 or 11, the huge drive for and recycling was a whole big thing. And to this day, I'm almost an extreme recyclist. Like I recycle any little thing I possibly can because of like things like Captain Planet.
You're actually about to throw something away, and then you look over and you see Captain Planet just kind of like, and you're like,
right. Well, yeah, because I go to the what's his face doing Captain Planet for Saturday Night Live, or no, for Funny or Die.
Yeah.
Which is, if you haven't watched those are hilarious.
Is it Don Cheadle?
Don Cheadle, yeah, that's who it is. Don Cheadle is Captain Planet, and basically turning Captain Planet into an eco-terrorist is like the funniest thing it possibly could have been. That is hilarious.
I think this is where this song kind of loses me, because that whole first line, I don't know Captain Planet very well. Arab Spring, I don't really know exactly what that's referring. LA Riots, sure, and then Ronnie King. I'm like, these are things that I'm like, I don't have any emotional connection to. And then Deepfakes, Earthquakes, Ice and Volcano, I'm like, okay, I understand that. So the first line immediately kind of loses me.
Interesting.
But that's just me personally.
But what's funny about that, Asha, is the second line. That's more news, like more really recent stuff. Yes. So in the first two lines, you have basically just bookended the time frame you're going to cover.
Right. Which I get, and then it goes to like Oklahoma City bomb, Kurt Cobain, Pokemon. Okay, I'm like, okay, then I start getting it. But that first line, I'm like, I feel like they needed something a little bit more universal for the very first line of this song, personally.
I think they should have gone with Harry Potter.
I think the first line of the second verse actually would have made more sense. Like Harry Potter, Twilight, Michael Jackson dies. I'm like, okay, I'm here. I get you. That's millennial as hell.
Right? Yeah. I think so too.
Like it was a choice to do that Captain Planet first. I'm like,
yeah, because it's not like the rest of it is rooted in like, I would have started with something about the
Trump
Berlin Wall.
Or Berlin Wall. Yeah. Berlin Wall, Trump, something, blah, blah, blah.
Actually start 1989.
Yeah.
Really pick it up. Yeah.
Or just Berlin Wall, communism falls, blah, blah. Maybe that doesn't rhyme or fit well, but yeah, something. And then maybe, go to like the Trump era or something, or like, because that's still very fresh in people's minds.
See, I'm gonna go with that how purposeful that was, is because the end of the last song, it basically ends on capitalism and consumerism. And here you got a starting point with a cartoon literally that was made to sell action figures. I mean, like every other cartoon back then, it was made to sell action figures. And this was at least a novel, positive one. I always appreciated that. But maybe that's why they start with it, is to kind of pick up the thread about consumerism and capitalism. And we're going to go right into it.
Yeah, I do appreciate that MySpace got into the first verse. I feel like
totally.
I'm reading this book called
started with that too.
Yeah. Well, I'm reading this book called Top 8 right now, which is about MySpace and how it kind of like changed the music industry. And surprise, it's actually a book about emo, really, because emo really exploded because of MySpace, and like they were hand in hand together. So I think that's a really great starting point. The other thing that I really wanted to have here, I thought of it. I would have liked a line that said Simpson references.
Oh,
just because Simpsons came out in 1989. Also, their name of the band is a Simpson reference.
Yes, and Simpsons are still on.
Yeah, so the fact that there was no Simpsons, I was a little bummed about that.
They should have started with the Simpsons then. Like, yeah, that's definitely lacking in this one for sure.
I don't want to say it's all about lack. I love this song.
They could have just said Fall Out Boy, and I would have been like, okay, that references themselves and the Simpsons. Like,
yeah, but I guess I understand.
And next to Billy Joel, Fall Out Boy, blah, 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 blah.
That's true. Billy, well, whoever does the next one in 34 years will mention Billy Joel, Fall Out Boy,
They have to.
They have to,
at
right?
This point. That's part of the assignment now.
I don't know, Asha, maybe this will be your project in 34 years.
I'm a millennial. It's got to be like Gen X
Gen A,
whatever the next generation is. It'll be like my nieces or something.
That's funny to think about that right now. There's a band out there who's eventually going to do the third part of this.
I hope so. We don't need it, but we're going to do it. We're going to make them do it.
We don't need it, but we're going to make them do it. That's right.
Yeah.
We're going to do it.
We'll make them.
Someone's contractually obligated.
They sign that contract as soon as they're born.
Yeah.
You were chosen. You will write the weed and start the fire of. I want to do math real quick. 34 years from now, but I don't know how to do that. 57. 57. 2057. I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, I'll be no, not me.
Don't do the math. Don't do
I
that.
I already did. I'm gonna be at the end of the high end of my 70s. That does not sound like fun.
We got more war in Afghanistan. There was war in Afghanistan in the last song. I do this. We then get to our first sports. Cubs go all the way again. I really like that phrasing. Cubs go all the way again, because was it like 110 years since the last time they won?
Yep. Over a century had passed.
Phil, as a Red Sox fan, are you okay with the fact that they focus on their local team winning the championship for so long as opposed to the Red Sox?
Well, of course, yeah. No, we'll focus on that. And honestly, that was the longest drought of all. And the fact that got the fact that was actually finished and taken finally defeated is amazing. And go Cubbies, because that was great.
I will also say in this version, there's a lot more about race equality.
Yeah.
Which did not exist at all in Billy Joel's. That was all like Middle East, Russia, blah, blah. This one has a lot more like the Copernic and Michael Jordan and like
does mention the bus boycott. That's like the only thing he mentioned.
Yeah, that's it.
Very, very small. This one's a lot more. He talks about a lot more like black athletes and like looking at the lyrics, but I'm like can't find anything now.
Did you guys
the George Floyd, that one as well.
Well, you guys on that, in the first one he references Nixon twice, and in this one he references Michael Jordan twice.
I did.
The analog is
they one of the same
Trump.
Thing. Yeah. Well, the Michael Jordan is actually one of my favorite things in the song as well. I love saying Michael Jordan 23 because this is like deep Michael Jordan inside baseball, literally. Stuff, because when Michael Jordan first quote unquote retired, he went to play baseball for the Chicago White Sox minor league team, and he took the number 45. But then when he realized I'm terrible at baseball and I have to go back to basketball, he didn't want to wear 23 again because in that time his father had died. And the last time his father saw him play basketball was at 23, and he didn't want to wear that number without his father seeing it, so he took 45. But then his numbers weren't that good, so then he put on 23 and became great again. So I like the fact they had that in there.
That's a deep cut.
Yeah,
I like that him playing baseball is analog to Watergate.
Yeah, it's the same. Yeah, both affected the country in the same way.
Yeah, poor judge.
Never really recovered.
Yeah, I feel like also there's no like actors in this. It's like more there's no like classic Hollywood actors. He doesn't mention like Tom Cruise or something. Like there's
Robert Downey Jr. We got Robert Downey Jr.
Robert Downey Jr. He's like the only one that he references, but everything else is like Michael Phelps, Taylor Swift. It's more like music.
I was surprised Michael Phelps made it in there.
Yeah. I guess they just really like swimming.
This put him next to Y2K, which again, that was like a huge thing that ended up being nothing. So,
well, that's also my other favorite line, because you had Beatlemania in the last one, and this one, the Black Parade gets its own good call out because it's one of the greatest albums ever made.
I'm gonna the one thing I really love, or one of many, is the 2 shout outs to aliens. So the aliens exist because of Tom DeLonge, which is really funny. But the fact they bring up the Fermi paradox, very excited about that. I love talking about the Fermi paradox. I don't mean that like sarcastically. I legit love doing that because I ask myself all the time. It's like an astronomical improbability that we're alone in the universe, but why have we met anybody?
Because they've already been here, as Tom DeLonge has shown us.
I know. See, but now we know. Now we know big time. Yeah.
I do find it also interesting that they put Meghan Markle next to George Floyd in this song. I feel like they're somewhat related in terms of like race problems. But
that's a good point.
Obviously because they talk about the queen, the new queen in the other one. They don't talk about the new king in this one, but they do mention her. So
yeah, but they do something way better in this one because they say the queen and prince dies, so they are equivocating that prince is as important to the world as the monarchs, which is true.
Very true.
And
it's also interesting that the queen dies in both of these songs.
Oh, that's a good point. I didn't even catch that. Good point. See, because I always took that as kind of I don't want to talk about Manson again, but I'm gonna because the way Manson set up the band set up their name is like Marilyn Monroe and Charles Manson, hence the name Marilyn Manson.
Yeah.
And every band member did that. So seeing Meghan Markle up against George Floyd, it's like showing both sides of society. You know, where you have an actress becomes princess, and here a horrible, horrible, sad incident with just basically racism in general and racist cops. So you're
Well, it's
showing both sides of it. But I like what you pointed out. But like, no, there was a thing where with Meghan Markle, and there was like subtle racism.
Not even subtle. They were in the UK. It was very overt.
Were
All
they?
their,
Okay.
like, yeah,
Yeah,
all the
yeah.
journalists were super overtly racist towards her, to the point that's why they left royalty.
Oh, good for them. Get out. I mean,
well, now they're kind of annoying because they're just gonna cash in, and it's like, all right, just take a vacation or something. Like,
well, yeah, I mean, you got to make money now. I mean, I'm
yeah,
sure
they have to make money, but they're like not really good at it.
Although the name of his book is quite funny because it's Spare. Because that's always
I love the name of his book. Whoever came up with that, brilliant.
Hilarious. That's a hilarious name. God, I love when the people.
Do you think he's ever bold in his life though?
I think he always. Yeah, I do because I feel like you're the second son. You got nothing else to might as well go big, go home. I don't know.
Yeah, gotta do it.
Did we lose Joe?
Oh no, he's just waiting for us to get over the Stranger Things Tiger King reference. He just wants he hates the Tiger King, so we can talk about that. That's like their one reference to the lockdown is Tiger King. Because if you think about Tiger King, everybody watched Tiger King because that was like the beginning of lockdown. That's like what everybody was doing for whatever reason. So that's kind of like their subtle nod to.
I'll allow it.
Ever Given Suez, that's the ship that got stuck, right? And clogged up everything.
Yes, I'm pretty sure. No, now you said it. I gotta double check, but yes, because that man, did that screw up the world for a bit.
Yeah, it's like what is that a problem?
Small one thing? Yeah, screwed up so much of the world.
It's the Suez Canal. Yes, that is the Ever Given is the Suez Canal where the big boat got stuck in the little canal and basically stopped world shipment for 3 weeks.
Yeah, that could stop the fire right there.
That grounded the world to a halt, man. Honestly, I mean, it was this little bitty boat, and it just got stuck, and like nothing could ship everywhere, and then everybody blames that on that led to the inflation.
Yeah, here we are.
Oh, he's back.
I think also the thing that they had to do here, and we kind of touched on it already, this verse here where we have to get into like the shootings, the school shootings, and the killing of innocent people by police. Like we start to get that here. We got a Sandy Hook Combine, Sandra Bland and Tamir Rice, ISIS, a lot of bad stuff. And then, like Joe, you pointed out earlier, like horrible things happen, but like good things happen too. So in between, we have a LeBron James, probably the best basketball player of this era. But I'm surprised they mentioned Kobe.
He's gone now. He died tragically.
Kobe did.
Kobe, you're right. Oh my god, why am I always confused?
Yeah, no, but I'm saying like, Kobe is not here. I'm surprised Kobe didn't make it.
Kobe should have made it for sure.
And then you have the Meghan Markle, George Floyd, as we said. Then of course Burj Khalifa, which is important because of that Mission Impossible movie where Tom Cruise climbs it. But then Metroid, which is like whoa, that's like a really out of place thing.
I was like, are they actually talking about the game?
The game, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, is there something else called Metroid? But I'm like, I'm here for it. I'm a nerd. I like it. And then they talk about Venus and Serena, which are the two of the best female athletes of all time, or just athletes of all time.
Yeah. Then we get Michael Jordan, and I love YouTube killed MTV, which is a reference to MTV killed the radio stars.
Yeah.
The Bungles.
Right.
Video killed the radio star.
Yeah. Buggles. That's the second time now on this show we brought up the Buggles.
I was very happy to see SpongeBob getting here. I really feel like of all the Nicktoons, SpongeBob did rise to the top.
I'm interested that they put the Golden State Killer getting caught, because I'm like, a lot of different serial killers have existed since then, and that one was a big story. But I'm like, yeah, all right, I'll give it to you.
You got Woodstock 99, but no reference to Woodstock 94. I guess Woodstock 99.
No reference to Woodstock in the original.
That is not right.
There's no Oh my gosh! Now I gotta go back because like that's a seminal thing. I also got a funny story about Woodstock, the original one. Hang
But
on.
they do mention Firefest.
Oh, no, they
Very
do.
important.
He does mention Woodstock.
And they just mentioned disaster festivals in this song,
Yeah.
Firefest and Woodstock '99, where
Yeah,
people
they
where
mentioned-
people
yes.
literally started fires at
Yeah.
Woodstock.
Yes,
99.
they mention it. Yeah, my
Okay, yeah.
yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. My parents got married in April of 1969, and they took a vacation in August of 1969 and went north. And they didn't understand why there was so much traffic. Just to give you an idea of how much of a pair of lovingly, they were not into music, and they did not know that Woodstock was going on. They were like, "Why is there so much traffic? I don't know what's going on." It's hilarious. I love that. And then they raised 4 kids who care very much about music, which is very funny.
What? Why is everybody going to this festival?
Why is everybody here? Why is there so much traffic? I don't get any of this. This is backed up for miles. It's crazy.
So another big one that I was surprised going back to the Queen Die, we didn't get a Princess Di reference.
Yes.
Which I was really surprised about. And then I was like, which is interesting because that would have made me think about Elton John and the Candle in the Wind song. And Elton John,
or Titanic or something.
yeah, well, yeah, Elton John. I was actually on a Fall Out Boy song called "Save Rock and Roll" off the album "Save Rock and Roll," which was their big comeback from their hiatus after they almost broke up, kind of thing. They came back on new album. So I was wondering, like, did they have a bad experience with Elton John? Because why would they not bring in Princess? I don't know. I've started going down that route.
Too, because Elton John and Billy Joel did that tour together, that
right
headlining tour.
So very surprised. Or even the Beanie Baby, the Princess Di Beanie Baby would have been
Beanie Baby,
even
yeah.
more
Just
like
Beanie Baby in general.
Or just
yeah.
Beanie Baby,
yeah.
Does he mention O.J. Simpson?
No.
No, O.J. Simpson did not make that. That's another big one. Yeah.
Which is why I'm like, you mentioned Michael Jordan twice, but not O.J. Simpson.
Also, no Clintons.
No, yeah. The emails. The emails.
The emails.
But what about her emails? I mean,
what
guys.
about emails?
Also, in the Cola Wars of the original, how do we not bring up Surge? That's the most important 90s soda of all time.
Or just like Red Bull or something.
Wasn't there was a Saturday Night Live bit because it was called like Splode, and it was like taking that Surge commercial to the next level, and like every time you opened it would like blow up on you.
I wish Surge would come back.
Do you?
Yeah, I really do.
Disgusting. That's like nuclear waste put into a bottle.
It looks like Mountain Dew and Red Bull had a baby. That's what Surge is.
Sounds like a beautiful child.
It's like Four Loko. Like there's a reason why Four Loko is gone. It was
I'm
not
surprised
good.
Four Loko didn't make the cut.
True.
That's a deep. Yeah, I feel like that's a little too deep.
Too deep.
A little too deep.
But Taylor Swift made the cut.
She sure did. She sure did.
Who cares?
It's interesting.
A lot of people care.
Because
too many people care.
Billy Joel wrote his before, the internet, obviously. And it's like there's so much more 15 minutes of fame stuff. That
this song could have been 10 minutes long, and I still feel like they would have missed stuff. It's hard.
No, it is, and that's the thing. You have to kind of like choose carefully because you only have so much time. This song is actually a little shorter than the Billy Joel.
Yeah, it's like a minute shorter.
And I think they named like 20 or something things less.
Well, it's because we have ADHD. We got confused. We had to go on to the next song. You know what's funny though? We're having this conversation about things that wasn't there, and like now I'm kind of curious to ask. Like, I'll go with Boomer. Go ask Boomers. What do you think was missing from Billy Joel's song? Like, what big things occurred that's not there? And I wonder if this is more. If we were like ratting off all these things more and more, is because as a society, our generation is the one who was like connected more with the world stuff,
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think there's like Joe, like what you said, like no internet, like there's just so much more to choose from.
Yeah,
because you could sit here forever and be like, okay, you said MySpace, but where's Twitter? Where's
Facebook? Where is AOL chats?
Yeah, instant messenger.
Dial up.
AIM away messages.
Yeah, there's so much more that from like the beginning of the internet that they definitely could have put in there, like for sure. Or just said internet.
Internet. Just the internet's all of a sudden. I think we're it's where you land with the generations, but like I clearly remember before the internet, before it was a thing, like before I had it. And I was like, and I feel like that's such a societal divide is when do you remember, like legit remember things prior. Like I remember when I was doing those, in elementary school history essays, we had to bust out the
Encyclopedia.
encyclopedias. My mom would always buy it every goddamn year. She'd buy the new version of the Encyclopedia Britannica, and that would go up in the hallway upstairs. And there it is. I'd pull it out and have to go look up history of Cairo and the C's. Actually, C was big. I think if I remember right, C was a CA to like C R, and then it'd be the rest of it or something like that. I think the C was actually a double book.
Look, children today just don't know what it was like before the internet. I remember going down to
Wikipedia should be in here.
Good call. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you, but I'm just like,
no, it's okay.
How is that not in there?
I was just painting a picture of life of a child before internet. I remember being a small child, going down to the local sump and collecting frogs, toads, and then bringing them home and then letting them free in the yard. And then now there were toads every summer in my yard. That's what you did before the internet.
Where were you a kid? 1950s?
Yeah.
No, but that's such a beautiful. God, I wish that actually happened to you. It sounds so pretty the way you explained it.
It did happen, and my parents were pissed. We had so many toads after that. Every summer, the toad. Like there was just a place where the toads. I grabbed a handful, brought them back to the house, let them free, and then now we had a toad country.
This is the cutest story ever.
Yeah, what? Have you heard about this before? This time of Jeff's life?
I have never heard this toad story before. I'm actually kind of amazed. I don't know the toad story. That's amazing. I love it.
I was a small Fallout boy collecting toads.
Very sweet.
But yeah, Wikipedia should be on here. Going back to that, I don't understand why that's not here. I mean, there's so many, but again, for me, I think I like how this song sounds compared to the Billy Joel song. It just sounds a little more rocking.
They have harmonies in the chorus, which I think add a little bit of like, that's nice. That's cute.
Especially the later choruses. Like he does a lot of like vocal flourish stuff underneath.
Yeah, totally.
That's Patrick.
Right. And that Patrick Stump is one of my favorite vocalists there is, and he's way better vocalist than Billy Joel. So like he can do that kind of stuff.
But I will say, I was noticing when I was watching the live version from the VMAs, there's quite a bit of auto-tune. So it's not like it's all natural. I'm just saying. Just seeing the obvious, they didn't have auto-tune, which again, auto-tune should have been in there, T-Pain, something, because like that changed music like forever. Auto-tune has completely shifted how music is made. And I could go on and on and on about that, but I won't. But I'm just saying, Billy Joel was really good for his time, but he didn't have auto-tune like we do now.
Asha, how do you feel about auto-tune?
You should ask T-Pain, because even he like kind of regrets how he created it and then made it such a thing. He made it as an effect, but now it's like everything you listen to basically requires auto-tune. So, nothing is real anymore. Just like filters on Instagram. Nothing is real.
Well, I'll tell you what is real. In the enjoyment of great music. So why don't we all enjoy Fall Out Boy's We Didn't Start the Fire. Well, there it was. We've just listened to two versions of We Didn't Start the Fire. I would say the boomer version, the millennial version, and now we're here with empty plates at the diner. Phil, what should we do now?
We're gonna keep going with the questions. I think it's a great idea, so I'm gonna keep doing it. I would like to know. I'm gonna give you guys some time on this one because this is gonna be a little more out there. So I'm gonna ask you these three questions. I want to know what you think is the best line from either of them, the worst line for either of them, and then the third question you don't need to really think about. So I'll do that one later. So I want to know, what do you think is the best line from either song, and then what do you think could possibly be the worst line from either song? I'm going to be either one. I don't really care. You could do one for both if you really want to get very specific on that. But I think in the interest of time, because I prepared for this, because I knew I was going to ask this question, and then this allows you guys plenty of time to go looking stuff up. I am going to go with my favorite line being from Billy Joel, because he says, "Moonshot, Woodstock, Watergate, and he brings some legitimacy to punk rock by actually adding it into the song. So for me, out of both of these things, I'm going to say that was my personal favorite. I think it's the best because we are acknowledging punk rock is something of note and to be written down. So who would like to go first for your, what do you think is your favorite, your best line out of everything? Either one.
I'll go. My favorite line is World Trade, second plane. What else do I have to say?
Good call.
I think I kind of like, I want to agree with that one just because I think it's like the most important one because it really is the defining moment. But I'm also going to give an extra thumbs up to Firefest, Black Parade, Mike Phelps, Y2K. I don't care about Michael Phelps. I didn't go to Firefest, but boy, do I love My Chemical Romance and the Black Parade. And Y2K, I also feel like is a very important moment of our time.
Joe, what? Okay.
My favorite part of the original is just the way he says Marilyn Monroe.
Mm-hmm.
Not really a line, but just the way he delivers, like so drawn out.
Marilyn Monroe. Yep.
Yeah. And I'll say too, I feel like his voice, like Patrick Stump voice is too polished. I felt like it's like too, like to Asha's point, like obviously the auto tune, but like the little thing, the ways he delivers, like Marilyn Monroe or like JFK Blown Away, like amazing.
Yeah, it definitely feels like there's a little more feeling in it.
Yeah.
Little, because I mean, back in the day, that was probably like on a tape reel. You don't have that many options. Like you're just gonna have to like perform because you're gonna run out of tape.
You are gonna run out of tape. Okay. Now let's go the other side and go with what do you think is the least best, worst, skip, why is it there kind of question for you. And do you guys, anybody want to go?
The one that sticks out to me in the Fall Out Boy version is I don't like Kim Jong-un, Robert Downey Jr., Iron Man.
I also was gonna say that one because I'm like, why are you saying Robert Downey Jr. and Iron Man? You could have just said Iron Man and put something else in there, and I would have.
Very weird.
Or you could have done Kim Jong Un, and then what was the one before that? Kim Jong Il. Like you could have just kept going with just Kim Jong's.
Yeah.
Or something.
There's no mention of Vladimir Putin. I mean, I guess is there mention of Ukraine?
No.
No, the Crimean part. No, that was in the other side.
Yeah, Crimea.
That was in like
Crimean. Yeah,
it is Crimean Peninsula. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with the Unabomber Bobbit John, just because I hate that it went back. It's the words are inverted. It always bothers me. I'm like, really, you can't just make it John Bobbitt? Why not? Whatever.
But I mean, that rhyme scheme is pretty good. Unabomber Bobbit John.
I know that's why they did it, and I do get that. But at the same time, like I feel like you could have done like Hobbit.
Yeah.
And then you got Lord of the Rings in there.
Oh yeah.
Right, which was so I feel like you could have done the word choice is not my favorite. Jeff, what about you, sir?
It's in the Fall Out Boy. It's Boris Johnson, Brexit, Kanye West, and Taylor Swift. I don't want Taylor Swift to be remembered because of the Kanye West incident.
She wants to be excused from the narrative, okay?
I'm excusing her from the narrative. I don't want it in this song, but
I actually like that. I actually do enjoy that those two are connected because I would not know who the hell she is if that didn't happen. No, a lot of people in the world would not know who the hell she was if that didn't happen. She's actually very lucky that happened to her. That like made her career, personally.
Agree to disagree.
One of my favorite things the entire time on this show is whenever anybody says anything about Taylor Swift that Jeff may not agree with, he gets very quiet. It's kind of fun, and his face is just like, this like sour lemony. I love every second of it. All right, question you guys have no idea what's coming. I'm going to ask you. And you should know this was going to be the question that's coming. What's the better version? Realistically, which one would you rather hear more often? Jeff, I'm going to start with you.
it's tricky because like I can't listen to the Billy Joel one without just like feeling like it's a kid and I'm hearing like my relationship to it is so different. But I actually sonically enjoy the Fall Out Boy one more, and I like. Look, I'm a narcissist, I guess, because I care about my timeline, and I like hearing all the stuff in my life in a song.
I got that. Asha, how about you? Which one's the better song?
This is really tough too, but I'm gonna go with the Billy Joel version because he's the OG and he started the fire or whatever. Maybe he didn't start it, sorry, but he started this fire.
Carried it on.
Yeah, like I think that chorus is just super catchy. Like no one knows the words for the verse at all, but once you hear the, once we didn't start the fire, everyone's like, yeah, like he. I know it's critically panned, but he wrote a very not good song, but he wrote a song that is catchy, that is remembered through time, so much so that Fall Out Boy did another version of it 34 years later. Like that guy is a really good songwriter, even though apparently he's a dick. So I'm gonna give it to Billy Joel on that one. In his palatial estate somewhere, counting up his money.
In Oyster Bay.
Yeah.
No easy road into Oyster Bay, by the way. It's always like some weird side way. Okay, Joe.
Oh wait, Phil, just want to jump in real quick. If you guys have positive stories about Billy Joel and want to like save his character from this assassination we've done on this podcast, please send those letters to Phil in New Hampshire about your positive experiences with Billy Joel.
Is there an email?
He will read them.
Maybe we'll create just an email that's like Billy Joel good stories at Millennial Podcast.
That's a good idea. We're gonna do that. We're gonna actually create that and put it on there. And I can't wait to read those positive Billy Joel experiences because people, we all contain multitudes, as Walt Whitman said. I'm sure there are times when Billy Joel has not been the nicest person to people, but I'm sure there's times when he was pleasant,
where he had a redemption arc.
Yeah,
took over 5 seasons. Joe, for you, what's the better song?
All right, so despite my blood feud, I have to say it's Billy Joel original. It's got, I love the history of the Cold War. The bucket drums, the bucket drums are real prominent. It hits me off the right way. I feel like I'm in the subway station.
Subway station.
Cool
that's it. Yeah.
I like that.
I think it's cool that he made an iconic song that's not very good just by reference. It's like the first meta thing that I have ever like experienced, like in my life that I experienced. Right?
That's funny. Like, I get that. Yeah. All right. Sure.
Also, the video is so epic. Like, I like the video that it like kind of is like a family going through time on like a set, and he's just standing there, and then like everything's on fire at the end. I'm like, yeah, like that's
his sunglasses.
Yeah.
But wait, but the future, there's still people, even though there's all this ruin, right? And they're still around. I think that's how it ends, right? Which is a good thing that shows you that we are going to continue on. Right? Yeah, I think the Billy Joel is the one the better song. Yeah, just for all the reasons you did. But I appreciate the Fall Out Boy went for it. Go for it. Why not? Take a swing. I don't think this song is one of those songs where you can't cover. There's a few songs that are in that bucket, but this is one you definitely can. So no, I think that's perfectly good. I think that's great. So Jeff, you stand alone, my friend. Sorry.
I often do.
Yeah, that's okay. It's okay. It's okay. All right, well that's the show, guys. Asha, Joe, thanks so much for coming on the show with us. Let me get through a couple of the basic stuff, all the thanks and all that. So again, I want to say thank you to the my wife, the executive producer, who is actually also the creator of every Millennial Diner podcast design t-shirt we have. Jeff, you're looking very snazzy in your shirt today. Folks who are on the Spotify, you're missing out on some good looking stuff, but go check out the site. So the site's on TeePublic. It is a shop. You get things, t-shirts and mugs, stickers, infant, baby onesies. There's a bunch of stuff that's out there. We're also on the social media. We've got TikTok. What do we got? TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and Threads. Yeah, there's always just.
What about X?
We don't do X.
We don't do X.
We don't do X. No.
What about MySpace? What about Tumblr?
I would be all over a MySpace page if that was still a thing. I'd be.
Why can't MySpace just come back?
Like seriously, I would
Just
love
bring
to.
it back.
Where
Why
can
can't we
people
bring it
find
back?
you guys on 8chan?
Is there a subreddit I can subscribe to?
Yeah.
Maybe we'll maybe we'll try Discord out of this. Maybe that'll be the next one. Jeff, can you tell me how easy it is to do a podcast on Spotify?
It's so easy. You go to podcasting for Spotify. It's a whole site. You can do it all right there. Like if you want to do a straight up just like history podcast and just make listicles and just name things that happen,
Just
different,
like the song.
yeah, and not sing it, but just list it for 2 hours on your podcast. Go for it. But if you want to add songs, you can do that on Spotify too. It's great. Just do it.
Thanks, Jeff, for clearing that up. That's very. I appreciate you letting me know how easy it is to do a podcast on Spotify. Yeah. So once again, Asha and Joe, I'll tag you guys again in the when this episode airs. But thanks for coming on the show. It was great having you guys at the diner again.
Anytime. So
The
fun.
food was delicious. Thanks, Maurice.
Great omelet.
Was the omelet good? I was concerned.
It was perfect.
It came out looking a little funky, but in the end,
Yeah.
That's how Maurice does it. It may not look appetizing, but man, it's pretty good.
Jeff. Jeff. Come back. Everybody come back. Everybody,
what's going
come
on?
back.
Why is it still going?
The show didn't end.
what?
Why didn't the show end?
Oh no. Is this like on CDs how it used to be?
Are we doing a secret song? There's no way we're doing a secret song. Are we doing a secret song?
I think we're doing a secret song.
What song do you want to do? This is so weird. What song do you want to do?
I want to do. There's only one song to do. Fall Out Boy's acoustic cover of Love Will Tear Us Apart.